Thank you for downloading this podcast from the British Theatre Guide. For more information about British Theatre Guide, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.
Jenny Sealey has been Artistic Director of Graeae since 1997, a theatre company which, according to its website, boldly places deaf and disabled artists centre stage in a diversity of new and existing plays. In that time, she has directed a great many productions with diverse performers and for diverse audiences, including co-directing the opening ceremony of the 2012 Paralympics in London with Bradley Hemmings, who spoke to me for this podcast just a year ago. However, for her next production, Self-Raising, for the Edinburgh Fringe, she will be performing herself for the first time in 3 decades in a solo piece co-written with Mike Kenny, based on her own early life in a family in which she was the only deaf person. I asked Jenny what it felt like to be going on stage as an actor after being for so long the person whose job usually ends at the dress rehearsal.
The thought of going back on the stage in front of an audience is terrifying. I am really questioning my wisdom and that thought of, good night to act again. Be careful what you wish for. Suddenly, I'm going to be on a stage in Edinburgh, of all places. I am excited. You know, the actor in me is sort of buzzing to come out. So it is the right time. It's the right play. And it's quite shocking, that feeling of being on the other side, having been directed for the last 28, 29 years. It's almost 31 years since I did my last big play with Red Ladder Theatre Company. And then the last time I acted without a script was for Graeae, when I had to stand in for David Toole, who took ill. So I took over from this man with no leg, extraordinary arms, and the most amazing physicality. And me, 2 legs, deaf, massive boobs. And the other 2 actors like, Jen, what the fuck? You replacing David? I said, Liz must, and I did. But I remember the choreographer, Liam Steele. We were in a hotel and there was a sauna. He wouldn't let me out of the sauna until I'd learnt my lines. It was punishment of getting hotter and hotter, but the lines were going in somehow. So the most scary thing is actually learning lines that I haven't had to do for a very long time. And I'm approaching 60. My memory is not what it was.
Yeah, I know that feeling. But something like that where there's a panic, the adrenaline's flowing, it's a bit different to something like this where you've been planning it and you know what you're letting yourself in for a long time. So has this given you a longer time to worry about it?
I've had a lot of time to worry about it. And everyone keeps saying, but Jenny, you've written it, you should know it inside out. And I do, but because this play has all the glorious aesthetics of Graeae in terms of it's audio-described, everything visual, the photographs are audio-described, everything is captioned, and we also have a sign language interpreter on stage with me. So I'm very aware of the demand I have with my acts, so do not paraphrase. The words are behind you, and audience will know when you get it really wrong. Don't get it wrong. And now I've got a director saying exactly the same thing to me. Jenny, do not get it wrong. But, so real taste of my own medicine.
Yeah.
But there's something about the discipline of it, of accuracy, that I sort of quite like. And, and also I've written it, so I should start say the words I've written, not paraphrase and make it up. Be truthful to oneself.
Yeah, but I've written things in the past, and the cast have said, "Well, surely you know it because you've written it, but you don't necessarily know it word for word like they do you?"
Yes.
But you've written this, co-written this with Mike Kenny, who's worked with Graeae a few times before. But what's it like putting your life in the hands of another writer?
I have worked with Mike Kenny since 1989. He wrote the first Red Ladder show that I was in, and over the years he has written many things for Graeae, and he's a friend and an ally. And when I was developing this as a children's play based on Anne Fine's flower book Flower Babies, I was given some space and time by the egg incubator scheme, just to be Jenny, a theatre maker, not necessarily attached to Graeae, just for me to play. So having a week of playtime, what a luxury. But then when we were all together with the other incubators, that's what incubatees, which was the wardrobe ensemble, this little egg and some other artists, we all sat around the table sharing stories, and I started to share some of the story about my life and secrets and stuff. And they went, but Dan, that should be in the play. I went, oh, no. And then Kate Cross, the director of the egg, said, yes, Jenny, I think they're right. So when I had my whole week all to myself, but what am I going to do on my own? You know, I'm a massive procrastinator. I'm just going to sit there and fester and faff. So I contacted Mike and said, would you come with me? Please, will you come with me to Bar and ask me questions and help me? So he did, with my interpreter, Jude Mann. So they were quizzing me and pushing me and challenging me and getting cross with me and provoking me. It was amazing and horrible at the same time. And at the end of the week, Mike said in his very Mike way, dear girl, do you need me to be on the side with this? Do you need me to help with this? Help you write it? I went, oh my God, I thought you'd never ask. Because of course I did. So he is, apart from my son, Jonah, who's very much part of this, he is the only other person in the world that I trust with my stuff.
Should probably say something about what the play is actually about. It's called Self-Raising, and it's based on your life. But what's the story that you're telling?
I think it's in the title, Self-Raising. I think there's many of it out there. And maybe everyone, to a greater or lesser extent, raises themselves. And for me, as a deaf person, being the only deaf person in my family, living very much in my lovely, lovely Jenny bubble, I've just sort of had to get on with it on my own. But it's not so much a story about being deaf, although that's absolutely integral because it's who I am. It's the stories of what happens when you're told a secret, but told you can't, it has to be a secret, you can't tell anyone, and what that does to you in how you start to re-examine where and who you belong, and the reasons why someone won't let you tell the secret, and then the weight of the secret. And the secret that I have, and I'm not going to reveal it because no one will come and see it because this has all been done in this podcast, it's not an unusual one. There's certainly people of my generation, 60 plus, will go, oh, yeah, I know that one, got it. And the younger generation watching, hopefully, will go, oh my God, you know, really? You have to keep things like that a secret? Oh my God, thank God we've moved on in the world. So I think every family has skeletons in their closet. Every family. I'm just chucking mine out for everyone to see. And I have had permission, so I'm not doing anything I'm not allowed to do. And some of the people that wouldn't give me permission are dead. So it's like, oh, well, stop that. Sorry you're dead, but oh, great, I could do my play. Not quite like that. I've been very flippant. But there was a certain amount of control stopping me from being able to say anything. And so, because it's been 3 or 4 years in the making of it really being a secret, and then bit by bit, bits have dripped out. So it's took a different direction. But the most of it is about how, when you're young, you think your life is one thing. Sometimes when you're old, you think, oh, fuck, it's not.
Yeah.
Very, very different. But that doesn't take away from the fact. It actually adds the fact that I have always felt like a self-made person. I have raised myself, and now I know that to be true. And I don't mean that disingenuously with my mum and dad. No, they did bring me up.
Yeah.
But I had to do a lot on my own. That made any sense whatsoever. It's a bit of a blathering here and all sort of answer to your question.
It makes absolute sense, apart from the bit that you're not revealing, and I don't blame you for not revealing it. But is the fact that there are certain people who were involved with still alive, is that why now's the right time for you to tell this story? Is that the main reason?
Some of it, that is why right now is the right time. But it's also about consent and permission. the story is not just my story, it's the story of a lot of people. And for a lot of people, they've had to also go, right. Well, that changed everything that I've ever held to be true. Yeah. So it's about having to gently take care and nurture and hold people until they go, okay, Jan, off you go. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, I'm surrounded by a huge amount of generosity, but at the same time, quite a huge amount of pain. And so, the whole thing of it feels a bit bittersweet. And I keep saying, this is not my vanity project. Please don't think it is. And they do. And of course we don't think that, Jan. But I started to get a bit paranoid. Who am I doing this for? Is it me? And to a greater or lesser extent, anyone who does anything autobiographical, it's about them.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm holding this for a lot of us, so it's not just me. One lovely thing has been, is my 29th now, just turned 29. My son Jonah has been a phenomenal support because he's part of the narrative. It's his story too, and mother and daughter, mother and sons, we rub along and we clash a lot. But it's been really lovely to have a conversation when we're both in our professional fields. He's a filmmaker. He works for a left-wing YouTube news channel, edits, interviews, underscores. So he's a clever boy. But his fathers were, his grandfathers were all around photography and film. So it's in his blood. And because it's his story, we've been able to have a conversation, him in his professional domain and me in my professional domain, and me learn to listen to what he has to say. I'm a massive interrupter. I don't know if it's a deaf thing or a Jenny thing, but back me, I interrupt. And it drives people scatty, especially him. And I have been so good at listening and taking on board what he has to say. So my respect for him and his professionalism and wisdom, that's been really nice. I wanted him on stage with me, but I can't take the time off. And he's not actually an actor. He would probably look very, very awkward. That was the vanity project bit, me wanting him, my ally, my backup. But I'm a big girl, I don't have to have him there. He's there, he's done all the film work, he's done all the audio description of the images, and I do have a sign language interpreter on stage with me, who's doing open for me when I sign, or signing for deaf audiences who maybe choose BSL rather than captions. So we've got a mixture of everything.
An obvious question for something that's secrets or confessions or something that's something personal, and you get quite a lot of those at Edinburgh. An obvious question is whether doing the show has been cathartic, but I'll add to that, is it also something that's brought you closer to the surviving people in your family that are involved in the story?
Did you say the word? I can't say cathartic.
Yeah.
I think it is, but it's not. It certainly hasn't been therapy. It brought out the theatre maker in me, but making a piece of theatre for me, but trying to make a piece of theatre that's for everybody. And I was lucky. I had Ursula Martinez and Tim Crouch as my mentors when I was doing the incubator bit. And I had a conversation with Ursula. And I would just say, what is it? How do I have a right to tell this story? A story that lots of people have got a very similar sort of narrative. And she said, Jenny, I'm amongst people, thousands of people have parents who have dementia. So what gives me the right to tell the story about my mum and dad who have dementia, or her dad? What gives me that right? She said, but I'm a theatre maker, it's what I do. So do it, Jenny. And Tim Crouch, not dissimilar, said, how do you gently enable an audience to look at themselves and think about their own journey, their own way that they've risen themselves, if that's the right expression, and how do you duck in and out of timelines, not to confuse people, but to take them on the journey and to be brave with what you tell them. And it's all right. It might be stuff that they've heard a million times before, but what they haven't heard is you, Jenny Sealey, telling it. So what glorious endorsements from these two theatrical powerhouses. I feel very blessed. I must remind them that I'm actually now really doing it in real life, so they need to come and see it and give me notes.
Yeah, there are a couple of pretty impressive names there as helpers on the journey. Tim Crouch and Ursula Martinez, they're pretty impressive.
I was terrified about meeting them both. And I was also the dramaturg at Soho, brilliant person, but she kept saying, talking about Graeae Hemmings. And I'm a very different performer. I mean, Graeae Hemmings is like awesome.
Yeah.
And bam, I'm a gentler performer. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a fan in your face performer. That's not me. Sorry, it's a bit coarse. You can edit that. But it's not that sort of narrative. It's gentler and a bit more meandering. I get there in the end, I really do, but it's different. And I thought, actually, I just need to remember I am me and not compare myself with the wealth of solo performances I've seen over my lifetime. I do love solo performance. And I've been thinking a lot about all the different things I've seen. It's quite funny. I was just thinking when I was at Middlesex Poly, I was on the dance course. They wouldn't let me do the drama course because of my voice, and would I be able to pick up on cues? I mean, hello. All deaf actors learn every single part, everyone's lines, so that they know that they can, and they learn the rhythm of any piece. So I should be all right learning lines. I was back then. But anyway, at Middlesex Poly, it was someone on the drama course who said, Jen, I've got to direct something for one of my modules, and I want to direct you in Frank Arame's Woman Alone. And I did it, and I loved doing it. And most of the BA Performing Arts course students came in to watch it just to see whether this deaf person could act. And I really Fizz did a great job with me, and so I stuck all my fingers up and went, yeah, I can actually. Back then, I still think I can now, touch wood. But that thing about being on stage, it really challenges your nerves and the adrenaline and you have to hold it. So I think that's a challenge I'm really looking forward to, holding me, but holding the entire audience in that space, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you're going back to your first performance as a solo performer, but it's quite a daunting prospect. I've spoken to a few solo performers, and they always say, if it's the first solo performance they've done, they always say it's a lot harder than you expect it to be, just being on your own on that stage. Is that how you found it?
I think you have no one to fall onto apart from yourself. So if you fuck it up, the only person you can blame is yourself. So it's about taking on board that responsibility. It is daunting, and an Edinburgh audience in particular. But I think Edinburgh audiences are a real chameleon of, the theatre makers want to just go and test on someone else, quite cynical or embracing and generous. And then there's the regular touristy people who just love and are hungry for theatre and for stories. And that's all I have to offer is the story. Quite a good one. I think it's a good one. And yeah, and it's because it's got all the glorious Graeae bits within it. It does make it something a bit different.
The Edinburgh Fringe is one of the exciting things about it is that, performances can happen anywhere. They can be a room over a pub, or they can be in a taxi, or any little space that can be found. But that's not necessarily great for access, which obviously is a big consideration of most of the work that you do. So what's Edinburgh Fringe like for a disabled or deaf person at the moment?
It is improving. I've been on various panels over the years, really advocating for proper inclusion. We are in Queen's Dome, part of the Pleasance buildings, and it's accessible. It's on the flat, so I don't have to worry about the lift breaking down or anything. So it's absolutely crucial that we're in a fully accessible space. There is now a week and a half, I think, of deaf deaf-led stuff, that happened for the first time last year. So there's like a deaf festival. More companies are thinking more about the venues that they're in and trying to navigate physical access. Things like the Roundhouse which is inside Summer Hall, it's the Payne Ploughs mobile theatre. That's accessible, and they work with Talking Birds, so most of their stuff is captioned on your phone or on an iPad. So over the years, there's been more, but back in the early days, the only things I could enjoy at Edinburgh was lots of Dow's, or the shows that Graeae took up there, because Graeae and Birds of Paradise. But it's changing. But it is, as a city, all those cobbles, all those stairs, all those. Why any physically disabled person would want to live in Edinburgh? God. Max, who's one of the interpreters on the call, is also a wheelchair user. So Max, we're going to have some fun navigating Edinburgh. But we are going to try and create an easy route guide so that people know how to get to the venue in the simplest, most accessible, flat-ish sort of way, but not cobbles.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. It's a challenge for the city. But as I'm going to be there, I'm hoping to get my hands messy, going to any sort of panels or venues or a talk, so I can keep bringing up this issue. We have to try. Theatre should be for everyone. Deaf, disabled and neurodiverse people are part of everyone.
It's probably hard. Is it hard getting that balance, though, between the excitement of the theatre that can pop up anywhere and still being able to be for anyone?
I did had to write something for a journal not that long ago. It felt we now know much more about streaming. So if something's in a listed building on the 4th floor, absolutely no access whatsoever, why don't we find an accessible tent on a big screen and it's screened? So people pay to be all together so you can watch it as an audience. Or it could be screened for those people who are still shielding in their own home, so they get a taste of Edinburgh. There are options. You have to think outside the box. The theatre takes place in that venue, but we can, because of technology, we can be in multiple venues, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just a bit of common sense, really.
And just a bit of imagination. Putting a bit of imagination into it.
A bit of imagination, yeah. If Graeae can do it, anyone can do it. We're a tiny wee company, so some of the bigger, better funded companies, come on. But Edinburgh is full of those tiny little companies that have got about £3.50. So if there's any way that I could go in and support them or give them ideas for when they come back to Edinburgh, I will, because it's usually the little ones.
Yeah.
The real grassroots ones that are desperate. They want to get better quicker. The big ones we're too far gone. No. But the little ones, yes, come on. What can we do? Makes me think about the old days. My background was theatre and education, working with the Half Moon, Red Ladder, Theatre Centre. Back then, I'm talking 40 years ago, what was deaf people, blind people, physically disabled people, real mix of people from the global majority. It was diverse, massive capital letters. We were doing it way before any of the big ones were, and then some of the big ones thought, oh, shit, we need some of that, and then just take it. Forgetting where it's come from. It came from all of us, on that front line, on those grassroots. Oh, don't get me on my soapbox. La, 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 la. Which is here all day.
Well, all of these sorts of considerations are sort of baked into everything that Graeae does by its very nature, and integrating things like signing and surtitles into the performance rather than being an add-on. That's all part of it. So how are rehearsals for Graeae different from another company? How do you put together a production that's different?
Rehearsals are not different. The simple thing is just to check in with everybody you're working with, and they do an access audit. So someone might need a headset and a line feeder. or they might need the script in Braille, or they might need the script completely spoken out loud, and they learn their lines through hearing it. I've worked with in Dublin with part of the travelling community. Many of them didn't read or write, but they were line perfect on that first day of rehearsal. They got someone to read it for them, and they listen. It's almost like they've got oral photographic memory.
Yeah.
Incredible. Everyone has their different learning styles and communication styles within the rehearsal room. So it's making sure that we try our level best to make sure all those needs are met. Then there's other considerations, people who have fatigue. So who said we have to work 10 to 6? This bloody stupid idea is that we don't have to. It's like working, people have different energy levels, and we need to be much better at adapting what the rehearsal room can be, what the hours are. There are some physically disabled directors who do 4 hours a day. They get the job done because they are so super prepared, and they demand that their crew, all the preparations, the lights, everything's done way in advance. So there's a lot of sort of preempting possibly, but it means when you get to the tech, it doesn't have to take hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. It can be done really super efficiently. So we can change the model to make the working environment nicer for everyone. And I just realised Max has come back on the screen, but Max, we were quite demanding during Paradise Files, weren't we? That was very much quite a long rehearsal process, a long tech. So I don't always practice what I preach, and I need to get better at that. So I'm saying big apologies, Max. But it wasn't awful, Max, was it? We got there. But yes, so we've got to get better. And it doesn't have to cost masses and masses of money. It's back to what you were saying. It's about imagination, preparation, and a lot of common sense.
And you've been doing this for Graeae since 1997. There can't be many artistic directors that have been in post for that long. How have things changed in that time?
How much has changed? I mean, a lot has changed. The thing that I think I'm proudest of, that Graeae has never been precious about, we've discovered many different new ways of working, but we've shared it with everyone. So many more people now doing creative captioning brilliantly, or the description embedded within it. So when I go and see stuff, I think, great. Bastards, they're better than we are. But no, there's some really extraordinary artists out there doing extraordinary things. So that's really exciting. I sort of know where it came from. And, my predecessor, Marshall, and people like Penny Costagli, who ran Netty Netty, were all playing around with integrated sign language. So when I came in, some of those seeds started to be sown. And just take that, I thought, oh my God, thank you. I'm massively aware of the shoulders I am sitting on, these giants who went before me. And, some of the young generation think they've invented it all. It's like, oh, well, this is when I do get a bit hoisted at my own petard. No, you didn't invent it. But what you are doing is keeping the wheels rolling, and you're discovering different territories because technology has developed so much. So keep going, but look back at the journey and see how antiquated my first ever capture show was at Graeae. It was PowerPoint. Different fonts for different characters, different colours, slide by slide by slide. I mean, I did it with my Access Manager. We cobbled it together. Didn't know what we were doing, but we did it. And now, oh God, people can do extraordinary things. It started with PowerPoint, Jenny sweating brick in a little tiny room with technical knowledge of a gnat. Anyway, so that's when I get hoisted, a bit irritable. But the employment of deaf and disabled people on the stage, that's really, really changing.
Yeah.
And the requests we get from casting directors, It's getting more and more interesting. People are lead characters. I get very, very furious if the casting director says, "Oh, have you got any to say for people? It doesn't matter what age, what gender, what disability, and if they've got any experience." Oh, really? So it's just a fucking massive tick box exercise? No. We are trained, we have currency, and we want proper roles, not just be lurking. But that's it's happening. It's exciting.
Yeah. The scale of the productions you've done, I mean, this is the smallest scale it can be. It's one person in a room. But then I saw your Reasons to be Cheerful in a tent at Latitude a few years ago. But that goes right up to when in 2012 when you were involved with the Paralympic opening ceremony with Bradley Hemmings. What did you want to get into that ceremony? What was important for you to include in that?
In the ceremony, oh gosh, I mean, that was mammoth. It was huge. But there was a really weird sort of sensibility that because it was a Paralympic, it would be nice. It would be sort of cuddly and warm, Oh, could you? No. Bradley and I do not do coochie like at all. So we knew very quickly that we had this massive platform to put some politics into a narrative, and the politics of equality. The Declaration of Human Rights, all humans are born equal. Well, they're not, but they should be, and that was our point. And securing the gorgeous Professor Hawking, who was just on it, got it immediately and said yes immediately. So once we got him, sort of everything else sort of fell into place. We knew we wanted him. We knew we wanted Alison Lapper, the statue on the fourth plinth. So the conversation with Mark Quinn about that were phenomenal. He said, "Oh, come on, yes." Alison she divided London. People like, amazing image of femininity, of motherhood, of empowerment, of power. And other people are like, oh. And so we're like, no, well, we don't care. We are going to unite our audience in the power of this image. And we knew we wanted Spasticus Autisticus. And Jeremy Hunt, I must remember Jeremy Hunt said, when he was the Minister of Culture, it's not a very joyful song. I said, it is. It's massively joyful. It's our anthem. We are reclaiming it and telling you that we are not a charity. It's a massive song and we're doing it. And then comms got all nervous, using the word spastic, because it's reclaiming the language, but they got very nervous about it. But then because Danny Boyle's show was so huge, and rightly so, he's opening up the whole of the Olympics, they sort of took their eye off us. So we just cracked on. And, we got Ian McKellen in, and Ian McKellen said, "I just don't want to be, do you want me to be Gandalf?" I went, "No." "No, you're more Prospero." I said, "Well, what's the scene after me?" "Oh, it's Spasticus Autisticus." "Well, I'm going to do that. I found a Stonewall, Come on, I'm all about equality. Stage manager, I want one of those banners. I want the coat. I want the boots. I was like, oh, brilliant. Lovely. So we were just carrying on doing our own thing. And then I remember someone from Com saying, "Are you doing that song again? You are doing that song, aren't you? Or are you not doing that song?" "No, we're doing it. We've recorded it. We contracted the performers, the Reasons to be Cheerful gang." Oh my God, I thought it will be fine. And it was fine.
Yeah.
And we had so many deaf and disabled artists, functional artists and volunteers, but it had to be like a stack record. The access and the creative access was everyone's responsibility. And they had to start taking charge of the operations team. And they were phenomenal because they were doing 4 shows over, they were doing all 4 ceremonies. They were knackered, but we were kind. We prepared really, really well. So that as soon as they came off Kim Gavin's closing, they had a bit of a break, then straight onto ours. We had as many things prepared, and we had plan A, B, C, D, E, and F in case it all went tits up. It was so exciting. So exciting. seeing David Toole and Nicky Wilde fly up to the heavens of the stadium and smash the glass ceiling. Oh my, seeing the flyover, the plane being piloted by a disabled pilot, and me jumping up and down in front of Boris and Jeremy and all the other white males, like a 5-year-old, like, it's happening, the flyover is there. So exciting. But then, that show came down, and then we're right into government cuts. They got rid of the Independent Living Fund, massive cap on access to work. So I had to really reduce the hours I have sign language interpreters. I still do have to really censor how many hours I use my interpreters because it's capped. So any euphoria we felt from that was very quickly replaced by sheer brutal anger about how shockingly and disgustingly we have been treated by government. And that battle is still ongoing. It really, really is. Sorry, you've got me on another soapbox.
That's fine. So what else have you got coming up for Graeae apart from your Edinburgh show?
Well, when we finished my show, we've got a new show. We're in a co-production with 20 Stories High. So it's a show for young people. And it's written and directed by Keith Sahar, who is the artistic director of 20 Stories High. It's got a beatboxer. It's rap, hip-hop. It's something completely different, but still absolutely about a radical politics of what it's like being a young person in the 21st century and being a young deaf, disabled or neurodiverse person. And it's a riot. So I'm very excited about that and very relieved I'm not having to direct it because I think I might be a bit knackered after Edinburgh. And then we've got doing a new musical for Hornchurch Theatre and Queen's Theatre in Hornchurch. It's Ben Johnson's Bartholomew Fair. It was originally done as a radio play about abominations, and now we've turned it into a musical. So it's, the premises of it, it's basically if you are not normal, white, English, non-disabled, and you're not married to a white, English, non-disabled person, then you are truly in for it. So you have to get married. Otherwise you'll be shipped off to a small island. That's the basic element of the story, which I think is really bloody topical at the moment. We have Suella Braverman and we have people wanting to shove disabled people back into care homes, not think about what the real economic narrative is. So, it's Graeae with knobs on. Big politics coming up.
That was Jenny Sealey of Graeae, with the valued assistance of signers Max and Tessa, who will be performing Self-Raising at the Pleasance Dome, Edinburgh from the 2nd to the 27th of August 2023 at 12:30pm. For more information, see Graeae, that's graeae.org, and for tickets go to www.pleasance.co.uk or www.edfringe.com. But here's Jenny again for a final few words on the show and a piece of advice.
I really, really hope that people will come and see the show. There is something there for everyone. And I think that anybody who watches it, if you still have family alive, don't ask them questions about the past because we forget. And then sometimes it's too late. So it's a little bit of a prod. Remember to ask questions.
You've been listening to a podcast from British Theatre Guide. For more information, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.